You woke up. You did the work. You faced your shadow. You shattered the illusions. And yet here you are, feeling emptier than you ever felt before. The life you rebuilt feels foreign. Your motivation has vanished. Your soul feels like it is calling you towards something you cannot name, and the silence inside you is so loud it terrifies you. You did not find this video by accident. There is a reason your chest tightens when you feel this void, and the truth behind your emptiness is something your soul has been trying to tell you all along. The emptiness you feel after awakening is not a sign that you failed. It is not proof that you went backward or lost your way. What you are experiencing is one of the most misunderstood and deeply painful stages of psychological and spiritual transformation. Carl Jung called it the dissolution of the ego. It is the moment when the structure you once called yourself begins to collapse, not because you are broken, but because the false architecture of your identity can no longer hold the weight of your truth. The persona you wore to survive in the world, the mask you perfected to be loved, to be accepted, to be safe, begins to crack and fall away, and what lies beneath is not yet fully formed. It is raw. It is tender. It is unrecognizable. You feel disoriented because the map you used to navigate, your life no longer makes sense. The goals that once motivated you feel hollow. The relationships that once sustained you feel distant. The version of yourself you worked so hard to become suddenly feels like a stranger. This is not regression. This is initiation. The old self is dying, and in that death, there is a terrifying sacred void. But what disappears is never as important as what tries to emerge. What you are moving through is what Jung understood as a symbolic death. It is not the death of your body, but the death of the psyche you once inhabited. It is the death of the beliefs you clung to, the identities you performed, the versions of love you accepted because you did not know you deserved more. This stage is excruciating because it feels like loss, but it is not loss in the way we traditionally understand it. It is the soul withdrawing its energy from everything that no longer serves your becoming. You may notice that people you once felt deeply connected to now feel like echoes. You may notice that the work you once poured yourself into now feels meaningless. You may notice that even your own desires feel muted, as if someone turned down the volume on your life. This is not depression, though it may feel like it. This is the psyche pulling itself inward, collecting its scattered pieces, preparing for something it cannot yet explain to you. The silence is unbearable because you are used to noise. You are used to distraction. You are used to filling the emptiness with motion, with productivity, with the needs of others. But now the soul has stopped cooperating. It has stopped pretending. And in that refusal, you are left sitting in the rubble of who you used to be. There is one moment where the soul begins to redirect everything. There comes a point in the awakening process where the soul does something that feels like abandonment. It pulls all of its energy back into the center. It stops reaching outward. It stops performing. It stops trying to make things work that were never meant to work. You feel it as a profound retraction. You feel it as exhaustion that sleep does not cure. You feel it as a disconnection from the world, from people, from the future you thought you were building. You look in the mirror and think, I do not recognize myself anymore. And you are right. You do not. Because the self you are looking for is not the self you were. It is the self you are becoming. And that self has not yet taken shape. Jung understood this as a necessary withdrawal, a descent into the inner world where the real work of transformation happens. It is in this silence, in this solitude, in this terrifying pause, that the soul begins to reorganize itself. It begins to separate what is true from what was inherited. It begins to identify what was yours and what belonged to the people who raised you, the culture that conditioned you, the trauma that shaped you. This withdrawal is not comfortable. It is not Instagram worthy. It is not something you can explain to people who have not been through it. It feels like isolation. It feels like stagnation. It feels like you are doing nothing, becoming nothing, moving toward nothing. But this withdrawal is not a collapse, it is preparation. One of the most disorienting aspects of post-awakening, emptiness, is the loss of motivation. You used to have drive. You used to have goals. You used to wake up with a sense of direction, even if that direction was fueled by fear, by obligation, by the need to prove yourself. But now that fuel is gone. The engine has stopped, and you are sitting in the stillness, wondering what happened to you. What happened is this: your soul stopped feeding energy into the life that was not aligned with your truth. The version of you that was conditioned to perform, to please, to push, to achieve at all costs, that version is dying. And the motivation you once had was not coming from your soul. It was coming from your wounds. It was coming from the part of you that believed you had to earn love, that you had to be useful to be worthy, that you had to keep moving or you would be abandoned. Your soul is rejecting that program now. It is refusing to cooperate with a life built on the foundation of not enough. And so the motivation disappears. The drive fades. The ambition that once felt so strong now feels like a distant memory. This is not laziness. This is not failure. This is your soul drawing a line in the sand and saying, I will not move forward in the old way anymore. There is a conflict happening inside you. The conflict between who you were taught to be and who you actually are. The conflict between the desires you adopted because they seemed safe and the desires that actually belong to your essence. Your soul stops giving energy to what is not meant for you. This is the stage that feels the most unbearable. This is the phase where nothing makes sense, where you feel like you are floating in a dark sea with no horizon, no direction, no land in sight. Everything loses its color. Everything loses its meaning. The things that used to bring you joy feel flat. The people you love feel far away. The future you imagined feels like it belongs to someone else. You are in what is known as the liminal space, the threshold between death and rebirth. You are no longer who you were, but you are not yet who you are becoming. And in that in-between, there is only void. This void is not passive. It is not neutral. It is alive with something you cannot yet name. It is the place where the soul does its deepest work. Beneath the surface of your awareness, beneath the noise of your thoughts, beneath the panic of your mind trying to make sense of what is happening, you may feel abandoned by the universe. You may feel forgotten by your guides, by your higher self, by the divine. You may wonder if you did something wrong, if you took a wrong turn, if the awakening was a lie, but you did not. You are exactly where you need to be. This silence is not punishment. It is initiation. It is the space where the false self is composted and the true self begins to root. But emptiness is never empty, and soon you will see why. What you do not realize yet is that the void is not silent. It is speaking. Your soul is calling you, and it has been calling you all along. But the call does not come in words. It does not come in clear instructions. It comes in discomfort. It comes in restlessness. It comes in the feeling that something is wrong, that something is missing, that you are supposed to be somewhere else, doing something else, being someone else. The emptiness is not the absence of direction. It is the presence of a deeper direction that you have not yet learned to hear. Your intuition begins to sharpen in this stage. You start noticing patterns you could not see before. You start feeling truths you could not name. You start recognizing the ways you betrayed yourself, the ways you dimmed your light, the ways you stayed silent when your soul was screaming. The discomfort is not random. It is revelation. It is your psyche showing you what no longer fits, what no longer serves, what must be released for you to move forward. The void forces you to sit with what you have been avoiding. It forces you to feel what you have been running from. It forces you to listen to the voice you have been drowning out with noise, with busyness, with the needs of everyone but yourself. Your soul has been asking for something, and now you are finally close enough to hear it. As you sit in the emptiness, something begins to rise. It is not comfortable. It is not easy. It is the shadow, the parts of yourself you buried because they were too much, too raw, too unacceptable. The anger you were told was unladylike, the grief you were told to get over, the desire you were taught to be ashamed of, the power you learned to suppress because it made others uncomfortable. Jung understood that awakening is not about transcending the shadow, it is about integrating it. It is about bringing the disowned parts of yourself back into the light, not to destroy them but to reclaim them. The void is where this integration begins. In the silence, the repressed emotions surface. The old wounds reopen. The memories you thought you healed come back, asking for deeper attention. This is not regression. This is the soul showing you what still needs to be seen, what still needs to be held, what still needs to be loved back into wholeness. You may feel rage. You may feel grief. You may feel shame. You may feel the weight of every moment you abandoned yourself to keep the peace, to be loved, to survive. This is the shadow asking to be witnessed. This is the soul asking you to stop running. And what rises here is not darkness, but the part of you abandoned. The loss of motivation, the loss of drive, the loss of desire. It is not a failure of willpower. It is the soul withdrawing its support from the life that was built on lies. When your motivation disappears, it is because your soul has stopped sustaining the illusions. It has stopped feeding energy into the goals that were never yours. It has stopped pretending that you can find fulfillment in a life that does not honor who you actually are. What once felt essential now feels empty. The career you worked so hard to build feels meaningless. The relationship you fought to save feels exhausting. The version of success you were chasing feels hollow. This is not because you are ungrateful. This is because you are finally telling the truth. Jung called this stage individuation. It is the process of becoming who you actually are, not who you were conditioned to be. And individuation requires that you stop doing what is expected and start doing what is true. The void is the space where the false motivations die so the real ones can be born. It is the place where the soul says, I am done pretending. I am done performing. I am done sacrificing myself for a life that does not belong to me. Your soul stops giving energy to what is not meant for you. And then slowly something begins to shift. It is subtle at first. A flicker of energy. A moment of clarity. A desire that feels different, quieter, more true. The void begins to crack open, and light begins to seep through. You start to feel like yourself again, but not the self you were before. A deeper self. A truer self. A self that does not need to prove anything, perform anything, or apologize for existing. The energy that was pulled inward begins to move outward. Again, but this time it is moving with intention. It is moving with alignment. It is moving with the knowing that you will not waste yourself on what does not honor you anymore. Your desires begin to clarify. Not the desires you were taught to have, but the desires that come from your essence. You start to see what you actually want, not what you think you should want. You start to feel what actually matters, not what you were told should matter. There is a sense of coming home, not to a place but to yourself. You look in the mirror and you recognize the woman staring back at you, not because she looks the same, but because she finally looks real. The fog lifts. The confusion fades. The emptiness begins to fill not with noise, but with presence, with purpose, with peace. And when the light returns, it does not return to who you were, but to who you are becoming. You are here because your soul led you here. You did not stumble upon this video. You did not click on it by chance. You are here because something inside you knew you needed to. Hear this. The emptiness you have been feeling is not a void. It is a doorway. It is the space between the death of who you were and the birth of who you are meant to be. And you are standing in that doorway right now, even if you cannot see the other side yet. The void is not punishment. It is not evidence that you failed, that you fell off the path, that the awakening was a lie. The void is the soul calling you deeper. It is the soul asking you to stop running, to stop performing, to stop pretending that you can build a life on anything other than your truth. Everything you have been feeling, the loss of motivation, the disconnection, the grief, the rage, the confusion, it is all part of the process. It is all part of the death that must happen before the rebirth. And you are not alone in this. Every woman who has walked the path of true awakening has stood where you are standing now, in the silence, In the dark, in the emptiness that feels like it will never end. But it does end. And when it does, you will not return to who you were. You will emerge as who you have always been beneath the conditioning, beneath the trauma, beneath the masks. The emptiness was never trying to destroy you. It was trying to remake you. It was clearing out everything that did not belong so that what is true could finally take root. Your soul was never trying to punish you. It was asking for your attention. And now you are finally listening.